We're getting you the big voice on the show this evening, Joseph Stiglitz, the Nobel laureate, who speaks on economy with ET Now's Gauri Dwivedi. Spoke to her just a little while back. He does assert that emerging markets will manage to weed out of this crisis. The trouble really is for US and Europe, where difficulties have been persisting for a very long time. Let's go across and listen to Joseph Stiglitz in exclusive conversation with ET Now.
We have with us Nobel Prize-winning economist Joseph Stiglitz. So firstly, a question on the world economy. A lot has been talked about. You mentioned a lot in your speech as well. What do you think is the outlook for the global economy?
I'm actually rather pessimistic. At least what we call the North Atlantic, Europe and the United States. I think the emerging markets are likely to be able to manage their way through this. But Europe and the United States are continuing having difficulties with the aftermath of the breaking of the bubble in 2007.
Okay. Specifically, if you were to talk about the Eurozone, do you think having a common currency, a common monetary policy is something that is an argument that doesn't hold ground anymore, given the kind of Greek crisis that is spreading across the entire Eurozone?
When the Euro was founded, most economists thought it was an extremely difficult project. They had taken away the interest rate and exchange rate mechanisms for adjustment. They hadn't put anything in its place. There was some hope that with the beginning of the Greek crisis, they would fill in the hole. They were very slow to do so. And now that the crisis seems to be spreading, the steps that they have taken may not suffice to address the very deep problems that they face. Now, in a way, if they formed a more integrated fiscal framework, which means far more than they've done in the past, they could work. They have a debt GDP ratio for the region as a whole that's lower than that of the United States. But as long as they aren't acting in a unified way, the divergences, the disparities are going to be acting as a centrifugal force.
So one last question on India, China. Both these economies are battling stubbornly high inflation that's eating into their growth. What's your take on these two economies, specifically, of course, to India and the kind of monetary policy that we are following? Do you think it will have the impact that policymakers want it to?
Well, I think that one has to see this in the context of very unstable global financial markets and in the context of a weak Europe and America. So it is understandable why countries don't want to take contractionary actions in a context in which the global economy is slowing down. So they don't want to go from an inflationary period to a period in which there is an inadequate demand. So it's a very delicate line that they are drawing. Moreover, raising interest rates would generate a flow of capital that could itself be destabilizing. So unfortunately, they have to be very careful about the instruments that they use to respond to the inflationary pressures. I guess I better...
Thank you so much.